All right, we're going to dive into a pretty wild metaphor for the human mind. Forget everything you think you know, because we're going underground. We're headed to a place where the buildings aren't made of stone and mortar, but, well, they're built from repressed thoughts and forgotten desires. So picture this. You find a temple, but it's deep underground. And its walls? They're not made of rock. They're the hardened, calcified remains of every desire you've ever pushed away. This place, this subterranean cathedral, it's a trap for all that turbulent energy of your unconscious. And that's exactly where we're going. Right into the lightless basement of the self, a place that, as you can see, has no floor. The whole vibe down here can be summed up with one pretty perfect German word: unheimlich. You probably know it as the uncanny. It's that skin-crawling feeling you get when something familiar, like your own house, suddenly feels totally alien. Or when you look in the mirror and for a split second, you don't recognize the person staring back. We're talking about a journey into a mind that has become, well, unhomely. Okay, so let's step inside. Act 1. We're entering this haunted house within. And really, that's the best way to think about it, as a kind of architectural blueprint for the mind itself. It's a place that's all about deep, horizontal layers, designed for one thing: to hold back all that raw, chaotic, primal energy that Freud called the id. And you feel it the second you're in. There's this pulse in the air, a heavy dread, or way, way below the surface of civilized morality now. And this feeling, it's not just some random spookiness. No, it's the vibration of everything you've ever repressed, everything you've pushed down deep inside, starting to bubble back up. But here's the thing, you're not wandering around alone in this pitch-black place. As your eyes start to adjust to the darkness, you realize there's someone else here. A guide, a figure they call the prophet. Now this guy is something else. He's what you might call a holy fool, or maybe a surgeon for the soul. He looks at your ego, your sense of you, and just sees a big wall, a barricade you've built to keep all the messy stuff out. His whole mission? It's to get past that wall, to blow right through your defenses and talk directly to that primal animal core inside you. And you can hear him laughing. It's this deep, rumbling sound, like the world is shifting under your feet. He's laughing at the neat little life you've built for yourself. Because to him, your whole identity is just a paper-thin illusion. And he's here to do one thing: to set the stage for that terrifying moment when you finally look for your true self and find nothing. Just the abyss staring right back at you. So, the prophet, he doesn't give you a lecture. Nah, that's not his style. Instead, he just points. He wants you to look at the walls of this place. The lessons here aren't in books or words. They're powerful symbols etched right into the stone, and they're designed to speak directly to a part of you that doesn't use language. And the first thing you see is wow. It's a real shock to the system. You might hear Ouroboros and think of a snake eating its tail, right? Wrong. This is a person literally unzipping their own skin, and underneath, there's just a mirror. Cold, empty, perfect. So what does that mean? Well, this is the uncanny double. The big, terrifying lesson here is that the you that you think you are, it's just a costume. It's a role you're playing. And when you unzip it, there's no real you hiding underneath. There's just that reflection, an empty void. All right, let's go deeper. As the prophet leads you toward this huge central pit in the temple, he stops and asks a question, a big one. He wants to know what you think the ultimate authority is, down here in this underworld of the mind. And yet, really think about that for a second. In a place with no rules, no society, no God, no right or wrong, what's in charge? What's the final law of the land? What could possibly govern all this chaos? You look up, and there's the answer, hanging high above the pit. But it's not a light. It's the opposite. A hole in reality, a black sun. This is what's known as the dead father, and it represents the absolute, inescapable authority down here, the one law you can't break. This thing's light, if you can call it that. It acts like a psychic scalpel. It doesn't give warmth, it just cuts. First it peels away your ego, then it goes after your superego. That little voice in your head that's always judging you? It just silences it with this overwhelming roar of nothingness. And it shows you that your soul isn't some beautiful, unique thing. It's a machine, a mechanism, just repeating its patterns, always being pulled towards silence and stillness. And that's the big, chilling takeaway here. Life, your life, it's just a tiny, brief interruption in an endless, underground silence. It hammers home the point. You are not the master of your own house. You're not even a tenant. You're just a temporary guest, lost in a forgotten basement. But staring into that void, that's not the end. Not by a long shot. In fact, it's the beginning. It's time for the temple's main event, a ritual, a ceremony of, well, let's call it radical integration. So forget everything you know about communion. This is the opposite. You're invited to eat what they call the bitter bread of the id, basically to swallow all those ugly parts of yourself you've pushed down. You drink from a chalice filled with mercury, and the point isn't to wash away sin. The point is to welcome your own darkness, to finally shake hands with the monster inside. And this is where it all comes to a head. The prophet grabs the great mirror of the self, that idealized picture you had of who you are, and he smashes it to pieces. And when it breaks, it's like a dam bursting. All that raw, primal energy from the id just comes flooding out, washing over every single part of your mind. This one act changes everything. You stop being the civilized self who's always trying to push down their desires and stay in control. And you become something new, the uncanny companion. That's someone who doesn't just tolerate their dark side, they fully integrate it. And they find a strange kind of peace in not having a home to go back to. So, the ritual is over. You walk out of that underground temple, but the person who walks out is not the same one who walked in. You bring this new way of seeing things back to the surface with you. And it's like a virus, a contagion, this philosophy of the unhomely. It's this unsettling truth that's now literally in your bones, and it will completely change how you see everyone, including yourself, forever. And if there's one final lesson you learn from this whole descent, it's this. After everything you've seen, you realize that the biggest lie you ever told yourself was that you were a separate, isolated person. That was the illusion. The truth is, you are never, ever alone inside your own head. And so our journey ends with one last nagging question. You've climbed back out from the depths of your own mind. But what if that whole underground world, the prophet, the hollow sun, all of it, what if it's now a permanent part of you? Sure, you can leave the temple, but are you sure the temple ever really leaves you?